Hey everyone. Today, we're going to talk about something that, really hits home for a lot of us. It's about how we can best feed our elderly loved ones. I know it can be a huge source of worry, but the good news is there are some really clear, simple answers. So let's just dive right in.
So, have you ever heard this one before? You make this beautiful, thoughtful meal for an older parent or grandparent, and they just kind of push it around the plate and say, "I'm just not hungry." It's so frustrating, right? And it's definitely concerning. But what I want you to know is it's not just in their head. There are some very real biological things happening here.
Okay, so let's get right to the why. Why exactly does appetite seem to disappear as we get older? Well, it turns out this is often the very first step in a really challenging cycle, one that can impact their entire well-being.
Believe it or not, it all starts with something as simple as stomach acid. See, as we age, our bodies just don't produce as much of it. And what that means is that heavier foods, they just don't get digested as well. The food literally just sits there on the stomach, making them feel full and kind of bloated for hours. And of course, if you feel full, you're not going to be hungry for the next meal, right?
And this is where you can really see that chain reaction in action. It's like a domino effect. It starts with that poor digestion, which leads to a smaller appetite. Then, when you're not eating enough, you've got no energy, right? So you move less. And when you stop moving, your muscles and bones start to get weaker. It's this really tough downward spiral where every single step just makes the next one worse.
Okay, this brings us to a really important point, the difference between calories and nutrition. A lot of us get this mixed up. You see, calories are basically fuel for activity. So yeah, if an older person is less active, they technically need fewer calories. But nutrition, that's a whole different story. We're talking about the vitamins, the minerals, all the stuff their body needs just to function, even when they're resting. And those needs don't go down. In fact, sometimes they actually go up.
All right, now we're getting to the absolute heart of this whole conversation. We're going to tackle a huge myth, one that has honestly done a lot of damage over the years. Let's talk about protein.
I'm willing to bet you've heard this before. Maybe you've even said it yourself. The common advice was always, take it easy on the protein. The thinking went something like this. Protein is heavy, their digestion is weak, so it's best to just avoid it. And on the surface, that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Well, it turns out that is completely 100% wrong. It's a total myth. In fact, modern science shows that this advice isn't just a little outdated, it's the exact opposite of what our elders really need.
So here's the truth of the matter. Protein is probably the single most important weapon we have to fight that age-related weakness. It's the building block for the very muscles and bones that we worry about becoming frail. So to break that vicious cycle we were just looking at, they don't need less protein, they actually need more.
And we're not just guessing here. Science actually gives us a number to work with. A younger adult needs about 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. But for an older adult, that number jumps up to 1.2 grams. Now that might not sound like a lot, but it's a huge increase. And it's all about one thing, preserving their strength and their independence.
Okay, so if they need more protein, but heavy foods are hard to digest, how do we solve that puzzle? Well, this is where we have to get a little bit smarter about where that protein comes from. And yeah, there's a catch, because if we just start loading up their plates with traditional things like meat and eggs, we can run into other problems. A lot of animal protein is, it's heavy to digest, it's often full of unhealthy fats, and it's even been linked to a higher risk of heart problems, which is obviously another huge concern.
But when you put them side by side like this, the answer becomes crystal clear. Plant proteins are just so much easier on the stomach. They're also loaded with extra vitamins and minerals. And get this, they can actually help protect against heart issues. For an older person, it's literally a win-win-win.
Okay, so what does this actually look like on a plate? Let's get super practical now and talk about some amazing, nutrient-packed, and really easy to digest plant-based foods. First up, you've got your legumes and pulses. I'm talking about things like lentils, peas, chickpeas. These guys are absolute protein powerhouses. And the great thing is, you can cook them until they're super soft, blend them into soups. They're just incredibly gentle on the stomach.
Next, let's talk nuts, seeds, and butters. Just a single spoonful of almond butter or a little sprinkle of pumpkin seeds can add a serious protein boost to a meal without making them feel overly full. They are so nutrition dense, which means a little bit goes a really long way.
And don't sleep on veggies and grains. It surprises a lot of people to find out how much protein you can get from things like potatoes, spinach, broccoli, and especially quinoa. Plus, you're getting all those other essential vitamins and minerals at the same time.
And finally, some super versatile options like tofu and soy milk are just fantastic.
I mean, you can blend them into a smoothie, crumble tofu into a salad, make veggie patties. The possibilities are endless. Oh, and throwing in some avocado, that gives you those amazing, healthy fats that are so important for brain health. So, as we start to wrap this up, let's zoom out a bit. Because at the end of the day, this isn't really just about food lists or counting grams of protein. It's about something so much bigger. It's about fundamentally changing the quality of life for the people we love.
Remember that downward spiral, that vicious cycle we talked about? Well, this is the opposite. This is the virtuous cycle. When they eat the right food, they get energy. That energy might just be enough for a walk around the block or some gentle exercise. And that activity builds strength. And, just as important, it boosts their mood. Good food can kickstart this amazing, positive cascade of health and happiness.
And that brings me to this really powerful idea called health span. We're so often focused on lifespan, just the total number of years someone lives. But the real goal should be health span, the number of years they live in good health, feeling energetic, feeling happy. It's about making every single day a quality day.
So I guess the question I want to leave you with is this. With every meal we prepare, with every choice we make for them, are we just trying to help them live longer, or are we helping them live better? Because truly, the right nutrition, and especially getting smart about plant-based protein, can make all the difference in the world.